Okay, here's the introduction to like the work you're doing today. The first part of the essay, which is really it's not even really related to the essay. It's picking a source. So you should have watched the intro to the pop essay. That if you haven't done that, do that now, and then come back to this. So here's the first step of the pop essay. I don't have a PowerPoint for this because the I'm just going through the doc that you're going to be typing on. I have the PDF version, which is just easier on my computer. Um, but the version you have is a doc version that I think the font is different, and besides that, it looks exactly the same. So this will just be easier for you to visualize. So, step one, you're going to pick an online source to emulate. So your essay, your pop essay, will be in the manner of something you could find. The source is hopefully someplace where you already read articles. I'm assuming that you do reading on your own. You'll be emulating the style and expectations of that source. So here are some options. You don't have to pick one of these, but you have to pick a legit source. So like the New York Times, the Atlantic, BuzzFeed, the Guardian, NPR. If you're a gamer, do you read things on Kotaku? Um, I don't know what else is out there. If you're unsure if you have a valid source, let me know, and I'll look at it and be like, okay, yeah, that's fine to do. You can imitate the style of that source. You could write something that could feasibly be posted on there. Okay. All these sources have many different types of writing entries, and not all are analysis essay ish articles. You are emulating, you're imitating analysis articles, not the other type of writing. So, for example, if you know of BuzzFeed is very popular for people in your age group. BuzzFeed has a variety of types of writing on it. It has news, articles, analysis, blog posts, lists, etc. If you pick BuzzFeed, then do not try to emulate one of its non articles and write something like 11 great Macbeth memes, or take this quiz to figure out which Shakespeare character you are, or 17 reasons why Romeo is trash. Like it should be like one of those non essay articles. So I should say this right now. What's the topic of your essay? Now, you don't really have to think about this, or you can think about this, but you don't have to work with it. So here's the topic of this essay. Is Romeo and Juliet still worth studying? Is Romeo and Juliet still worth studying? Is the play still worth studying? Okay, so just have that in your brain. So chosen source, New York Times, BuzzFeed, The Atlantic, whatever, put it here. Step two, mentor texts. That's a fancy English teacher word. Go to your picked source and read or skim two essay-ish articles. These can be articles about anything, from any date, from the same author, or for different ones. Pick topics that interest you. These will be your mentor texts, a fancy teacher term for an expert text that will guide your own writing. Make sure these two articles are essay-ish, meaning it is proving something with analysis and evidence. That's what makes it an essay-ish article. Okay, for your two articles, Article 1, Article 2, you're basically just going to fill in this chart with information from each. You do not need to write in full sentences. So what's the article's title? Who are the article's authors? What's the URL so I could find it if I need to? What's the article's topic? Again, doesn't need to be full sentence. It could be one word. It just needs to make sense. What's the purpose of this article? Is it to persuade the audience of something, convince them of something, make them believe something? I don't know. You're picking the articles. Okay, so here you're commenting on the form. Besides something that's introduction-ish, something that's conclusion-ish, and something that's like an argument-ish-ish, or prove something with evidence type things. Is there anything unique or strange or atypical or abnormal about the structure of this article? Besides an intro, a body, and conclusion, are there things in there that's interesting, weird? I don't know. Let me know. Describe the article's diction or language style. Produce 10 words from the article showing its typical language style. So does it use a lot or does it use much? Does it use man or does it use dude? I don't know. Like, what words are the typical style, and then produce one full sentence, copy and paste one full sentence that shows, oh, this feels like the typical sentence, this stylistically the typical sentence. Describe the author's tone. How or to what extent does the author use logos logic? How or to what extent does the author use ethos, credibility, theirs or someone else's? How or to what extent does the author use pathos, emotion? Okay, and here's kind of where things get a little bit new. From interpreting the article's language style, references, and cultural context clues. So the style, the things they reference, meaning the things that they assume the audience knows, and cultural context clues, the little bits of culture they put in there. It could be slang, could be just also references. Who is the presumed audience of this article? And this could be any number of things: age, gender, education, region, political alignment, etc. Any number. So, for example, BuzzFeed is really young millennials and maybe upper Gen Xers, so your generation, but the older ones of you. I think BuzzFeed has, so it's a youngish audience. I think BuzzFeed has a majority female audience, and a majority left leaning, like politically left, like Democrat kind of audience. I think it assumes that of their articles, because you will see articles like Trump is trash, but you will not find articles like Hillary Clinton is trash. So you can figure out things about who the audience is based on what's in there. Okay, so do that for each one, and then this part. From interpreting each of the article's language style, references, cultural context clues, who is the presumed audience for the source? So right before this, who's the audience, the presumed audience for the article, the specific article? But now that you've done multiple articles for the same source, who's the audience of the source? So actually what I just said here about BuzzFeed being like mostly for youngish people, majority female, majority politically left-leaning, that should go here. What should go here? This specific article, who's probably the audience? And then, due to this understanding of the audience, your understanding of who the audience is, does it change the relationship with or the responsibility of the author? So how the author or the authors can interact with the audience. So, for example, if you have a young audience, there's things you don't need to explain. If you have a mostly female audience, there's things you don't have to explain. You have a political audience, left, right, in the middle, there's things you probably don't have to explain. But you would have to explain for someone that's not like your natural audience. So again, if this is BuzzFeed, you assume that the reader generally doesn't like Trump, so you don't need to give good evidence of why Trump is bad. But if you said like, oh, and Clinton isn't good, you'd have to give extra evidence because that's something the audience doesn't already believe. You see what I mean there? And that's it. So you just type into this, and this is the assignment. And you're going to be writing your essay kind of in the form, the mode, the style of the source, whatever source you pick. And that's that.